Hello and welcome to the Not Too Shabby Shop YouTube channel. My name is Lynn, or LV Handcrafted, here on YouTube, and today I am crafting with the January subscription box of the month. Specifically, because we get so much in this box, today I'm crafting with the Pink Fairies 6x6 paper pad, and I am going to use the coordinating ephemera on my cards today. I've already chosen 3 different designs from the paper pad, and the card I'm going to make is a 6x6 card. I also have on camera 3 nested shape dies. I chose heart as my shape, but you could do this tunnel style card really with any shape that you'd like. And ultimately, in the end, I actually only used the 2 largest of my heart shapes because you could do this a lot of different ways. If you aren't familiar with tunnel cards, basically what we're going to do is cut an aperture into the center, but what I'm going to use is not the heart that I cut out, but the negative space as part of the design. And I'm just going to keep nesting. Now you could do this with 6 full sheets of 6x6, but really it's just the topmost layer that will be fully visible. Everything else is going to go behind that. And so I lined up my aperture so that it uses the minimum amount of space, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off, just leaving enough of a border so that, because really just a small border around this heart aperture that I've cut out is going to be visible, and that saves me a bit of space. So I found the easiest way to do this is actually to line the die up, the larger die on top of this. And then when you trim, you just need to just give yourself enough room outside of that so that you have some glue that you can room to glue down basically the layer on top of it. So then you could cut out another aperture from as many more pieces really as you want to go, and that's totally up to you. But what I decided to do was I actually decided to just make this the background so that you actually don't see any of my card base, because I was originally thinking a white center of the card base still showing through, and actually cut out a 3rd aperture from that 3rd pattern paper. But ultimately, in the end, I really love these papers so much that I didn't want just a small little border of it showing. I want this to show fully. So when it comes to now attaching or gluing everything together, this is my trick, because I do need to start from the bottom layer and work my way up, but I want to make sure that, because I didn't cut these from full sheets of 6x6, I do need to make sure that my aperture is correctly lined up. So what I am going to do is just get some this is my low profile foam, and I'll get this placed behind the middle panel. That's the one that I'm working on right now. And giving it a little bit of lift with some foam is going to create a little bit of extra dimension, and it's going to help with that tunnel effect look. So what's great about low profile foam, this is about 1.5 millimeters thick, is that I'm going to be able to put some low profile foam behind this layer of cardstock, which is my middle layer, as well as my topmost layer. So I'm going to be able to double up my foam, but in the end, it's not going to end up being super thick. So this will still ship, I would say, for a single stamp, but it'll have to be a non-machinable stamp because this is a square card. And if you're shipping USPS anyhow, there is an additional charge for shipping non-machinable. So what I did was I temporarily taped down middle layer to my my top layer. And because my top layer matches exactly my card base, I was able to just line the pieces together and get that middle layer glued down. So that's my trick to gluing down your however many sort of in-between layers you have. Just attach it to, stack them all, temporarily tape them down to your topmost layer, but only put glue or adhesive on the layer you're about ready to glue down. And that way you can both save yourself a little bit of pattern paper, so that middle layer, I could have made it easy to line up by just cutting it out of the full 6x6, and easy peasy, it would have lined up fine. So that's an option too. But if you're working with gorgeous papers like the ones here and you want to save a bit of it, then don't worry about cutting it down, because lining it up can still be just as easy as how I showed. This black strip that I am gluing down right now, this happens to be closer to 2.5, 3 millimeter thick foam. And I'm putting it all around the border because I am working with different levels of cardstock at the moment. So in the center, there's 2 layers of cardstock, and where I have those black strips of foam going all the way around the border, that was that white area is my card base. And so on my topmost panel, I still want a little bit of foam, a little bit of distance between my middle layer, which is where I'm applying foam now, and the topmost layer, but I'm using slightly thicker foam just to bring everything roughly, it's not exact, but roughly to the same level. So that way the top layer is going to be nice and flush. And what I would recommend, because I am using pretty sticky foam, is I would actually recommend putting some liquid adhesive on top of everything, all of your glue here. Now, the black foam is single-sided adhesive. So the top side, the black that you see now, that there's no adhesive there. So I'm going to run liquid adhesive on that. But what I should have done was run a little bit of liquid adhesive even on the foam that is white, which is already sticky. And the reason for that is because that little bit of liquid adhesive will help you position things just in case you need to. So you see here, I got things a little bit off, and not only did I get things a little bit off, because I put foam on the middle layer of cardstock, some of that foam was peeking through. So, a couple things. If I had put a little bit of liquid adhesive on all of my foam, I could have lifted this panel pretty easily, because that's the nice thing about putting a little bit of liquid adhesive. It'll kind of save you from some accidental contact with the dry adhesive. Just depends on the dry adhesive you're using. If it's really strong like what I'm using, that's why I'm not even trying to lift this whole panel. I just went in with some scissors and snipped away a bit of the foam that was showing through. The other way that you could avoid that is, instead of putting adhesive onto your middle panel, put adhesive on the back of your top panel. Then you can clearly see exactly where your aperture is, and you can avoid that. So there are so many different ways to kind of approach assembling this. This is what I found to be easy for me. You could assemble this completely the opposite, where you glue everything, maybe stack it onto and glue it onto your top panel. And then when you have everything stacked, then glue it down to your card base. So that would work equally well too. So that's all up to you, and find what works for you and go with it. The next thing I am going to do is just sort out my ephemera, and because what's great about this is that you do get multiple of each piece, and as well they come in different sizes too. So some of the fairy designs, you can find them in, well, in this case, it kind of feels like there's, a large, a medium, and a small size for the fairies. Now, you may not necessarily get each fairy in each of the different sizes, but there's so much variety that it makes it kind of easy to pick the right size for the scene that you're trying to create. One of the nice things that ultimately I ended up not doing, but one of the things that I considered, we have fairies of different sizes, and because I'm trying to create a tunnel effect, that whole effect of kind of looking down into a tunnel, the fairies being in different sizes is kind of cool because you can, if you wanted, put larger fairies on the topmost layer, and then in the center of the tunnel put your smaller fairy, so that it kind of helps with that optical illusion of distance. The idea being that the further something away, the smaller it is. So that would help with the effect of that tunnel card. I didn't end up doing that just for simplicity, because I wanted to keep the scene nice and simple, but I also wanted to have the one fairy in the center of the heart be the focal point, really. And I just wanted to collage enough up around the fairy in the center of the heart to have some interest, to maybe balance the colors out a little bit more. So here the purple is a bit of an accent for me, and so I wanted to just bring parts of that into the topmost layer. So for my sentiment, I did reach for one of the 3 4x6 stamp sets that does come with the box of the month, and this one is thank you very much, which I thought was really cute. And so again, because I'm looking to kind of bring some of that purple into the foreground, I thought about matting it, but I didn't want a strong hit of purple, so I'm actually not going to matte my sentiment strip, which is rare for me. I usually do, unless it's maybe black strip with white and heat emboss. But everything is so light and airy, which is one of the things I really love about this paper pad. So I'm going to leave my sentiment strip white and start to glue things down. I did get a little floral or flower ephemera in that same sort of light lavender purple color, and I'm gonna put that off to that bottom to the right of my sentiment, and that's gonna help to, I'm sure you've heard kind of that the rule of triangle, trying to get splashes of color or objects in a triangular formation. It just helps to move the eye around the card as they work from sort of the top of the triangle, which for me is sort of the butterfly, and then they kind of scan the other groupings. So that little purple flower, purple is really the color that I'm trying to use to kind of move the card recipient's eyes around this card so that they see everything. So it's bouncing from the butterfly to the center heart to the little fairy house and then across the sentiment to that flower on the right. So that's sort of my thought process as I'm trying to figure out where. I'm not the best at collaging, but I try to keep a couple of of design rules in mind, and and just continue to work at it. And I think the more you do something, the more comfortable you get at it. So I've seen lots of beautiful collage ephemera pieces from my design teammates, and so if you're looking for more collaging techniques, definitely subscribe to this channel. So as my teammates post videos here, you'll be able to get loads of inspiration from them as well. Thanks so much for checking out my video today, and I'll leave links to everything below if you want to check out the box of the month or the junior box of the month. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Thanks. Bye.